It's been said before, and I'll say it again. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So where would you rather be than right here and right now on the Ralph Rant? Let's go.
Welcome to the Ralph Rant, your source for hard-hitting Buffalo Bills takes. Now, here's your host of the Ralph Rant, that veteran watcher of generations of Bills teams, the prophet who predicted Josh Allen's greatness, that opinionated so-and-so you've walked out on parties because of, the Ralph.
Welcome to the Ralph Rant, a special Tuesday evening edition. I wasn't even going to do this pod tonight, and I watched and consumed some content today that has led me to the thought process of having to say a little bit of something. But this is mostly a podcast about questions. And the biggest question I have is, after everything we've seen from this Buffalo Bills team through the course of this 2025 season, what the hell was that 2 days ago? I mean, is it hitting you the same way as it's hitting me? It's like, okay, we saw the game. The Bills did great. They got down for a little bit, but then something magically, Josh, happened, and then, okay, we won the game 44-32. You know, everybody's worried about the run defense, and now we're all thinking about Houston, certainly. But what the hell happened the other day? What was that? What was that? I'm not so much here to rant and complain about something with the Bills. I'm trying to understand this football team. And a notion that comes to mind, and I asked Arthur Moats about this when I had him on as a guest some weeks back, much earlier in the season. And I asked about football teams and football teams that were close, and if some sort of hive mind, if you will, is created within the team. Does that happen? Is there sort of an overall mindset? I mean, you could certainly see it in certain cases where a team that's losing will have a certain thing, and it's like you're saying, it's going through the locker room and it's affecting everyone, and, you know, people have quit on the coach, whatever. We all know as humans how susceptible we can be to that. But in the true sense of the hive mind, when this organization is as close as it is, with love between the teammates being pushed as much as it is, that there's a closeness of mind and consciousness that maybe operates sort of on its own, almost autonomously. And it makes you wonder, is the team testing itself when, how badly can we get beat if we go and just do nothing in Miami? And then this week against a team that is definitely, I mean, leading its division, definitely a playoff team, a team that's been dangerous in the playoffs the last couple of years. Tampa Bay, certainly they present a challenge to the Bills that they weren't maybe expecting from Miami, although division games are always like that. And it's almost like the only problem I have with the coaching is I'm going to start with this statement, which I wrote out. I watched, like many of us do, Joe Marino and Locked On Bills do his all-22 assessment. I cannot break down film like he can. I'm not going to pretend to. But I can certainly listen to what he has to say. And it's pretty interesting. And this is just a statistical thing, and this is actually what I kind of wrote in this. We know that Baker Mayfield was 30th in EPA throwing against the blitz coming into this game with the Bills. Then, as it turns out during the game, Baker Mayfield is actually 2 for 5 with an interception when being blitzed. I believe there were 2 other plays, perhaps, where he scrambled after being blitzed. And yet the Bills still blitz their normal 23% rate. The question is there someone, and God, we hope there is there someone that is responsible for tracking Mayfield's performance or any opposing quarterback versus the blitz, for example, or under any other number of considerations, during one high or two high coverage, depending on if you're disguising something, if you're running a stunt. Any circumstances you could think of, is there someone during the game that is looking at these trends like we saw this one, which was obvious coming in because, again, Mayfield coming in was terrible against the blitz. And the Bills did it, but only maintained their normal amount of doing so. And I have to ask, Sean McDermott is calling the defense. What the hell is Bobby Babich actually doing in the booth? Is he maybe writing down how many times the Bills blitzed and what happened and comparing that to easily publicly available information on the internet? Is that actually happening? And if not, how the hell come? How can that even be possible? I've maintained on this channel that Sean McDermott seems to have power over the sideline. There are no other coaches making big noise on the sideline, getting on players. I don't know how the leadership aspect works on the sideline. We've been through that. But if you're going to have control, are you is this something on your mind? This should have maybe resulted in a couple more blitzes and testing out something rather than discovering it after the fact. Or not thinking you should do it that much because, they might know we've got them figured out with the blitz. I don't know. But this is simple game analytics, I go on to say. Who is tracking this stuff? Bobby Babich is up in the booth. He is not calling the defense. What the hell does he actually do up there? That's my second question. My first, of course, tonight was, what the hell happened Sunday afternoon? What was that? And that's the second one. What is going on with that? And then on the offensive side, we see Josh Allen explode into vintage Josh Allen. Oh my God, did it even ever look so good at times? I know he didn't throw a ball flying out of our bounds on the far side and getting it to Ty Johnson or something like that. But son of a bitch, it was effective. It's only been done 3 times where a player scores 3 touchdowns running and 3 passing. And 2 of the freaking 3 are Josh Allen. So if that is actually happening, and we know it still can happen. Maybe there's people out there saying, Josh is, he's going to be 30. He's got married. He's lost the juice, whatever it is. Saw him ready to spike that football in the end zone the other day. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I am talking about. And he rediscovered it too. So I have to ask, what in the blue is Joe Brady doing if you're trying to be this running team? Dude, just be creative. And we saw what happened the other day. Guys got open. Tyrell Shavers, leading receiver, 4 for 90. And he dropped another one, or didn't get another one that he should have caught, that he should have been more aggressive going after. And you can bet your ass he'll learn from that one. You can bet he'll learn to be aggressive for that ball and not stand there waiting for a defender to come in front. But Tyrell Shavers, when did you not see him open, right? Or using the backs? I forget what the numbers were, but, 2 of the touchdown throws were to backs. And they weren't little tosses for 5 yards out. Josh screwed that one up for the 2-point conversion, throwing to Gilliam. I don't know what got into his head there. All he had to do, that was the time to flick it, Josh, by the way. But that's all he had to do at that point. But this whole thing of using Josh Allen as Josh Allen is supposed to be used. Maybe that's what's it. You can't have a freaking Porsche and drive at 35 miles an hour all the time. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to do what it's designed to do. So turn him loose. Turn him loose, Brady. And then start concentrating on your inside zone if you want to run. According to Joe Marino, they got into a lot of gap stuff the other day. And these guys were crowding the box. And listen, Buff, I watched some of the film myself. Again, I'm not an expert watcher, but we see our blocking coming up. But the guys aren't waiting like on some of these other teams. They're already penetrating through. And by the way, I know it was said on the film review that our left guard who allowed that sack from the secondary, the near sack, it's the pressure that was on Josh that forced the flick interception. But I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was unemployed on the play, and the free rusher came through. So I don't know what you're going to say about that, but it improved though throughout the game, and you just need to use Josh Allen as Josh Allen. And then there's the question, and if there's anybody commenting here, I'm going to get to them. Wasn't expected to even be on tonight. I just had the urge to get on and talk about this stuff. So, by the way, that's where we stand. But that's the next question of the questions I'm asking tonight. Is Joe Brady outsmarting himself? Where did that offense come from? Why do you think you need to keep Josh Allen as Clark Kent the whole game? What are you saving him for? And then the next thing to talk about here, this is not going to be a long show, believe me. I do too many long ones. But Keon Coleman, which, of course, as we know, sat the bench, basically inactive, because he was late to a meeting, apparently on Friday. And what this sounds like to me, the way McDermott is handling this, which it amazes me that it's made public. It's almost like, does McDermott need to have this guy under public scrutiny in order to reinforce his point? Because if it were me, I wouldn't need the public to reinforce my point to this professional football player. But he's not very professional, apparently. And to the extent that Sean McDermott feels the need to call him out publicly, saying, oh, he's a healthy scratch because he missed a meeting. But actions speak so much louder than words. And you're telling me that you'd rather have Keon Coleman on the field as opposed to Tyrell Shavers and Gabe Davis, and yes, Mecole Hardman also. I understand what happened with Mecole the other day. I believe, like it's been said, he was just trying to put on a show for Bills Mafia. He screwed up. But do you want Coleman on the field? And I think this Coleman thing is going to develop into more, and I don't think we'll see him active this week either. Not a chance. So that's not a question. My note is just Keon Coleman, no. Gabe Davis just getting started. As long as you're not telling him to be your constant number two receiver, if you use Gabe in the role he's supposed to be used in, he'll be great. Now, we got a game on Thursday, which is coming right up, and I am almost really, 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 really glad that this game is coming up so quickly. because the Bills might not have time. Joe Brady might not have time to outthink himself because he's just got to put something together and got to understand that you've got a quarterback in Josh Allen who is an artist. He is an artist. He does things on the spot. I've talked to you about playing in bands on this channel a lot. I was a guitarist and saxophonist. I've done it. And when you're going to do a solo, you're not just doing some exact same thing unless you're copying some song. You want to create art at the moment. And that's what Josh Allen needs to do. You got enough talent in terms of weapons. People say they need weapons. No, they got fast dudes. They got dudes that can catch. You just can't structure the shit like it's a paint for number. This is not painting by number. It is artistry. And that's what Joe Brady needs to get through his freaking head. This is artistry on the part of Josh Allen. You need to give him the paintbrush and let him create. And when they're freaked out enough by that, whatever defense they might be facing, then you go ahead and sneak in James Cook inside zone all day because you've got a great offensive line, and let him make the blocks work. Let him pick the hole rather than running some sort of gap shit like they did the other day, which if you go listen to Joe. I'm just getting this from him, but that's what the Bills changed. They went inside zone and they started doing well with James getting yardage. But, man, you've got to use your whole palette, and Josh Allen is the biggest part of your palette. And you do have a nice set of receivers that are back now. Josh Palmer, Tyrell Shavers, Khalil Shakir, Elijah Moore. Now Mecole Hardman. And, yeah, there's Keon, but Keon's like, you know – I think this was the other thing, too, that I've been making a point about. Josh Allen's the face of the franchise, of course, and he's been for some years. So what you're going to go and say is that, you know, he's got a say on the team. And they even went as far as to say that he had a say in selecting Keon Coleman, having the Bills select Keon Coleman, after they traded away their first-round pick to get an extra, allowing them to get T.J. Sanders at 41, I believe. That left them with the 33rd pick in the draft, the first pick of the second round in 2024, with which they selected Keon Coleman because Josh Allen wanted him, because Josh Allen saw him playing with a Power 5 team and able to get open with ease and just reach over these little kids that were trying to defend him. Which, of course, wasn't the NFL. But we selected him anyway. This episode is brought to you by Kirkland Water. So we selected him anyway. And then we look at it. It looks like he's got some good stuff going on last year, that he gets hurt, doesn't come back from it very well. This year has not been great. The guy's still a kid, for one thing. He's young. And, you know, I'm not saying get rid of him, but you shouldn't have ever picked him with that pick. But now you've got him, and he could be of value, but you don't want him on the field right now because you need professional football players on the field playing with Josh Allen. So, and then, you know, Joe Brady, again, just figure out that you've got an artist. Your job is not to freaking set up paint by fucking numbers. Pardon the French. The idea is to create a canvas upon which he can paint. I wasn't talking to you, Siri. Get lost. Then on the defensive side, we heard, again, this is all credit to Joe Marino and his film study. that the defensive line wasn't as bad as it may have appeared the other day. And I never thought that myself. I think the Bills have a big problem on the second level of their defense. On the long run the other day that scored against the Bills, where they gashed him on the wide zone to the right, or maybe an outside zone, I don't know which. But on that case, you saw blockers getting up to getting Jordan Poyer. He got pancaked, and Cole Bishop got knocked out of it. And it may have been also, I don't recall from the film now, a cornerback also. But what were those guys doing, being able to get to that third level of our defense? That is another question. And fortunately, in the second half, it sounds like Bernard from the film study and Milano did play better. We're triggering more. But guys, I know you're a little short, you're a little small, and you're designed to be part of this sideline to sideline coverage offense where linebackers can cover just about anywhere. But we know Bernard's hurt. He's playing well, but he's not even offering that speed component. That's the whole reason you have somebody of that size and stature in that position. I believe the Bills could do really well with a couple of thumping linebackers, and they would do very well to get Shaq Thompson back. And if you got a Shaq Thompson thing going on with Dorian Williams, as we saw Dorian featured the other day, this defense could suddenly start looking really, really good. Because you saw Deion Walker. I mean, he got double teamed a good bit from what I saw on film. And Deion's a beast. And now TJ Sanders is just getting back into it. Give him a chance. Don't think that he is not looking at what the guy picked after him is doing and how he's looking on this team. Don't think that's not under his skin. It is. Look out for TJ Sanders, because I think he's going to have something to say about who the best defensive line rookie is. And when you love that competition. Joey Bosa's wrist is going to get better each week. I mean, they had him out of the Q-tip this week, so it must be improving. So at some point, he'll get it back full. And the other point to make on the defense, which is interesting, is that how TJ Sanders was put outside, and we saw Javon Solomon inside at times. And I think they're trying to recreate Michael Hoyt circumstantially. And one answer to that possibly that I'm not sure what we'll see this Thursday. We may see it or not. We didn't see it last week. The Bills did sign two players, Mecole Hardman, who was added to the active roster as the Bills returner. They also signed Morgan Fox, 6'3" or 4", 275. Sort of like it's the Wheaties brand of Michael Hoyt, essentially. And they're looking for that, and we might see him active. And you've got a quarterback here in Davis Mills, although C.J. Stroud was shown for limited practice. We'll talk more about that game in the next episode. But you might have Stroud in there, but they perhaps need to look at Morgan Fox is you go play the part of Michael Hoyt. So I think the Bills will do well. I think their offensive line is going to do well. I mean, you've got two great edge rushers facing the Bills, and Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown are going to have to be, I mean, you're looking at Will Anderson on the one side, and you guys know the name of the guy on the other side. But I think they'll do well, and I think they'll be able to run on these guys a little more. You don't have a Vita Vea sort of presence in the middle. And after seeing what the Bills did the other day, I'm not so sure they'll be going with a stacked box on that defense. This could be a situation, I think, where the Bills' offense, if it does what I think it will do based on what it did the other day, is going to go out and give this defense some problems, especially since I think Buffalo's defense itself will give the Texans a tough time. But anyway, that's going to do it for tonight, I think, in terms of what I have to say. But we've got, how about that, 17 comments in the house. And as you know, on the Ralph Rant, we did do it the other night when I did the post-game show. We're going to do this. Let's get up to the top here. Budsy Reed, 21. Your mic is distorted. It's perhaps because I'm bitching too much. I could take it out, take it back a little bit. I didn't read it earlier. Another one on the mic. Oh, hopefully this wasn't a terrible recording all over it. I love your content, Ralph. Thank you. Go Bills. Old angry boss. I heard we're wearing the Rivals uniforms again Thursday night. I don't believe that's true. I think they did get burned over in that dumpster I asked for. If Shakir is out, put Coleman in the slot if he's going to play at all. Did Shakir, you have to answer this in the comments. I didn't know that Shakir got hurt. Leave Palmer and Shavers outside. I agree with that. Definitely. JPS in the house. Allen is great when he's Picasso, but sometimes he's Jackson Pollock, and it's like doo-doo splatter. Well, yeah, I think, though, there's got to be the correct mood, and that's up to, apparently, Joe Brady to set. But once he sets whatever he sets through the week, he's not down on the field to actually speak with Josh Allen and let him know what's going on and how he feels face to face. But point taken. Billy the Buffalo is here. Go Bills. Guys, thanks for showing up on short notice. I actually scheduled this like 20 minutes before the start, so it's awesome that some of you guys are in the house here. Sound is still distorted and scratchy. Man, it might be that filter I have on this thing. Let me go look at this. Hang on. Filters. It's got to be on this one, right? I think it's this. I know how to fix it. I'm sorry it's distorted, man. Getting to it right now. Opening this, and let me go right to this, and this should solve it right here. Actually, it's not even that high. Well, we'll just pull it back here a little bit more. And I changed it, but I'm probably not even down to your comments yet that respond to that. So we're just going to keep on going through them. Cole Bishop is doing better with Poyer. That's absolutely true. For whatever it was with Taylor Rapp, and certainly you got to figure Poyer has a better understanding. He's got more than twice the time in the system that Rapp had. So it makes absolute sense. And this, again, is looking like another good pick by Brandon Beane, which makes me wonder, again, if Beane was kind of down on the whole situation that Keon Coleman even got picked. He may have not agreed with that, but have had to go with what Ralph, if they went with Ralph said, to go with what Josh wanted. But this is just another indication that the Bills are making decent picks. Cole Bishop, Max Hairston, Deion Walker. I think TJ Sanders is going to come around. I think, it's, Dorian Williams for now from a couple of years ago. The good ones are starting to outlast the bad ones. Coleman, I think, needs a little more time. I think we should give him the benefit of the doubt, and maybe he will break out into a star. I agree with that, old angry boss, and thanks for joining the show. But my point is that you're not in a position to actually do that right now when you need to be outscoring teams pretty good, because we're trying to get the way we stop the run together. And he's just not productive. And you had two guys out there in terms of Shavers and Davis, and I don't think there's a single one of you that, I'm not talking about a year from now, I'm talking about next game, would trade those two for Keon Coleman. Cole Bishop has played great, according to Billy the Buffalo. You are correct. Well, it doesn't have the speed. And we already have 3 slot receivers on the roster. I'm not quite sure who you're referring to with Old Angry. You'll have to explain that to me. What's up, Ralph? Mafia Sports Report is in the house. Thank you, Tommy, for showing up on this unexpected one. I got bitching so good earlier, I was distorting the mic. Baker faked Bosa out of his jockstrap. Yes, he certainly did. He certainly did. I mean, the Bills played a good ball club the other day. That's JPS, Charles Stone. Take the nanosecond and subscribe. Yes, indeed. Thanks for reminding me. And I never remind to share. Of course, you might want to not want to share this one if the audio is all shitty up front, mostly because I was like on a tear. But absolutely, please subscribe to the channel. Our audio is normally in nice shape. So I think I could dial it down right here. You can't even hear me. And bring it back up here to where it's just touching. But I see the meter was actually going way too far. But thanks, Charles Stone, for being in the house. Did they let me get to that. I thought they hadn't ruled him out yet. I saw he did not practice the day before, but I think it was limited today. So I didn't see that he was ruled out yet, though. I believe you. And I don't know if that's bad or good. I don't know if he comes back, how effective he'd be. You know, Davis Mills, as we've heard, is really married to his first read. So if the Bills try to get some pressure, but some pressure on either one will obviously help. You're wrong is in the house, too. Everyone needs to relax with Keon. It's absolutely ridiculous. He was dominant in week 1 in 3 wide receiver sets. Tampa was 3 wide receiver most of the day. Stay out of the garbage 2 and 3 tight end bullshit. Well, unless you're going to start, throwing to tight ends. But if you're looking at if you got teams that are playing single high because they don't trust your receivers on the outside because you're not throwing to them. Well, if you got single high, I mean, sending any tight end over the middle probably isn't the best prescription. So I agree with that. We'll have to see on Josh. I think Keon's got some more to learn, though, on that. Let's continue with your comments here. Billy Dean Williams is in the house. McDean messages on deaf ears. Okay. Better, actually. Thanks, Charles, for letting me know. And that was like about 5 minutes ago when I changed it. So I appreciate that. It's good to have friends that are looking out for you like that. That deserves that comment again. And, of course, Charles Stone, if you don't know, was the very first viewer of my very first live show. And we know that because the beginning of it was AFU and FUBAR and everything like that. But we're not there anymore. But thank you very much, Charles Stone. Let's see, where did we get? And in fact, I jumped ahead again. Don't want to skip anybody. Sorry who I was just on. Brady and Babbage, according to JPS, should come down to the field so fans can throw the rubber phalluses at them when they do poorly. And that perhaps is the reason that they're staying upstairs. But I don't know. Something happened the other day. That's the original title of this podcast. What in the hell happened the other day that turned this game into what it was when others didn't? And it's obviously something with Josh and how Josh feels and what changed. And when you determine what changed, find out how it changed. And if you can find out how it changed, then it's possible to repeat it. But there has to be some mindset that essentially gets Josh in the mood to put on the cape. And we've seen it missing in some games. So, yes, see what I made out of that simple comment? That's why these shows get to an hour and a half or 2 hours long. Billy D. Williams, 12 personnel with Gabe and Keon. You know, that could be. And you know what? The other thing that brings to mind Billy D. Williams is the fact that Gabe Davis might actually be a great teacher for Keon Coleman. That might be a very good thing. And to the extent that Gabe is a team guy, he's happy to have the jersey back on, I would not be surprised at that. Jeff is in the house. Ralph, what is our biggest position need in next year's first-round draft? I think linebacker is a huge need to upgrade. You know, I think that everyone eats was proven out last year, and even to the extent that it's not done as well this year with actually a better roster of wide receivers and receivers overall, I think you'd have to agree. And why is that? Well, I think it's because it's Joe Brady just trying to be whatever it is he's trying to be that has him running an offense that's predictable. It's this just came to me, but it's almost like the same thing he probably did when he was at LSU, and he was not the offensive coordinator. I think he was the quarterback's coach and maybe a passing game coordinator, something like that. But he had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle also, I guess, were all on that team. Forgive me if I'm incorrect on the ladder there. But he had this great team, and he was able to just do his thing with that great team. And is it a Joe Brady that we're seeing now that he thinks he's able to do his thing with this great team, but this is the NFL and not the SEC? So in a long way of answering your question, yeah, I think linebacker is a huge need. I think you've got a good situation with Hancock and Poyer for right now, of course, being the teacher, and obviously Cole Bishop, the safety spots. Max and Christian Benford is your starters. And look, Trey has been looking good this season. So I think you're covered there. And you put a lot into your defensive line. And you've got contracts out there that you're bringing guys back. I mean, Michael Hoyt will be back. Dwayne Carter, whatever you do with him, will be back. Ed Oliver, of course, is coming back. So you're going to have all of that. And if you saw the quick vid of Ed Oliver the other day, dude looks like he's got the attitude of wanting to get back on the field as soon as he can. I mean, maybe even to the extent of wearing some big-ass contraption on his arm that prevents certain things from ever happening, but who knows? But I think linebacker, yes, to finally get to the answer to the question, is huge. And you're talking about thumping linebackers, like a Jack Campbell sort of thing that we talked about Jack Campbell before the draft. Of course, he's in Detroit. So, yes, definitely think that. Ralph, what is our biggest position need? We got to that one. I think I'm hitting things twice here. Hope we can get the win down in Houston. They got 3 good running backs. If we come out flat and lagging and over, we suck on the road this year. I wouldn't put it so much about sucking on the road so much. I think it's just an overall attitude with this hive mind of this team that this hive mind tests things, and what happens if we come out and they're playing like this, or what happens if this or that happens. It's like it's almost like AI or something, trying to figure out every possible angle, every possible result. And I think the Bills, in that hive mind, at some point needed to show what they're actually capable of. And it took to the second half of getting to that run a little bit better. And yeah, there's a couple of positions. I mean, they need Shaq Thompson more than they need anybody back on this team right now to get that out of the way. But I think this hive mind is something that is changed, and it's demonstrated to itself what it is capable of against a really good team that they were behind. This was the kind of game, it's all like I talk about Secretariat, who wants to be behind in the race, wants to feel what it's like to be behind. I don't know. Is it a hive mind that's preparing this team to explode just at the right spot of the race? Not too early, but just at that right spot where they said, okay, Secretariat, go get him. Or Big Red, of course, as he was called. So I don't think it's going to be flat Thursday. I think the best freaking thing to ever happen to the Buffalo Bills is to only have this few days between games, between doing what they just did and, oh, wow, that was cool. I want to go do that again. Players should be monetarily penalized for false starts. Just a sign of lack of concentration. Well, you know, when somebody hands you the key, it just speeds things up for you. That's all I got to say about that. Continuing with your comments. That was Vito B, of course. Donald Ohina is in the house. Let's go Buffalo, love the rant. Thank you, sir. And again, I apologize for any audio difficulties we may have had earlier when I was maybe a touch too close to this microphone and a bit too loud with my comments. JPS, hot take. Gabe has a touchdown versus Houston. I don't know how hot that is. Gabe knows this shit. He's done this stuff, man. He knows it. He's been there. He's done that. He bought the T-shirt. He sold the T-shirt. He got a different team's T-shirt. Now he's got this T-shirt again. He knows it. What happened versus Tampa with the offense is simple. A heavy dose of 3 wide receiver sets, 11 personnel, and going away from the 2 to 3 tight end sets. It opens up everything for Josh. 11 personnel is the absolute reason. That didn't happen because somebody said, oh, we're going 11 personnel now. There's something more to it than that. I am convinced of. I mean, they're able to shift in and out of this, and they're not tied to doing one or the other thing during the game anyway. I truly believe something happened. I've asked the question to start this show. What in the hell was that? Because something happened with the team the other day. And, you know, I'll be damned if it's once again, it's something about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that Buffalo gets behind him and then suddenly like wake up, and they wake up and it's like, oh, we're here. We're the Buffalo Bills. And that's what happened the other day. And that's what happened when they were 6-6. So they lost to the Bucs in overtime, we know, and there was some crap to that. But the fact is that the Buffalo Bills discovered who they were versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 years ago while arriving at the 6-6 mark. It didn't lose again until they lost to the 5-5 chefs. I'm sorry. Continuing here. I nearly soiled my undies when we started the first drive with a passing play. Yeah, well, you know, of course, this is how I think Joe Brady thinks, because people are exposed to all this stuff. And so what ends up happening is that, oh, the Bills are very predictable. They can run on first down every play. And then they stop them and they get the punt deep. And on the very first play, you decide to throw from the 3. This is the thing with how Joe Brady thinks. He's outsmarting himself. He's just got to back away and understand that this is not, it's not that difficult. It really isn't. It's more about attitude than it is about mechanics and schematics. I'm telling you. Moving on. Burrows, Chase, and Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, thank you very much, Vito, for my asking that long ago. Fume drummer in the house. Are you using a different audio setup? You're clipping a bit distorted. I think, no, I'm not using anything different. There is a filter that's on it that, I wonder if I just get rid of the freaking filter. It'll probably go way low. This is what you get. Think I can get rid of it here? Please select the plugin. So I don't know if it's still there or not. Let me check this out here. Yeah, it seems to be like a good bit lower on the. That was probably, it was some loudness match thing. Anyway, thank you for informing me. Hopefully it sounds better. I'm going to go right down to the bottom of the comments right now and make sure. But I know it's better now, so we'll stick with. Thanks for sticking with me on this. Yeah, we just had that. Kian isn't on the team if we had resigned Gabe. Well, yeah, that's a possibility. And it's interesting, though, that they did sign Hardman to the active, but to the 53-man, but that's because he's as the returner because they cut Covington. But you'd have to do a receiver swap unless they had the one extra spot available, which I don't think they did. I think they filled them both with, I don't know if they signed Morgan Fox to the active, but I think it was just McCole Hardman. Yeah, I don't think they want to get rid of Keon, though, that quite that quickly. I do think he could develop. It's just that they need to win at this point. Audio for sure clipping, and that was at 540 or 840 rather. I think I've taken it down now. No issues here. Sounds good. I think it's better now. Thanks everybody for informing me because that's not good. Where were we here? We were at Tommy's comment on the sound. I don't want to miss anybody's comments here, so oh boy, what did I end up getting to? I apologize for this. We're getting close there. Oh yeah, there it is. Next one. Fume drummer asking, you probably covered this already, and I did not. But according to Tommy at the Mafia Sports Report, Stroud is out for Thursday. I had seen the latest I saw was an injury report indicating that Stroud had limited practice. He might be getting back into the early phases of the protocol, or the latter phases rather, to where he can play. But they're probably thinking not to throw him out there just yet if they could have another long, because they'll have the same thing as Buffalo, a mini bye after playing this game Thursday. But according to reporting by Tommy at Mafia Sports Report, he is out, Stroud that is. Maybe Chase is actually fighting it, so probably will play versus the Patriots. Oh, on the spit incident. Okay, I think we might have missed that one above here. JPS indicated Jamar Chase spits on guy and won't play versus New England. What a non-helpful douche. Yeah, truly, and then getting back to this comment where the Tommy Mafia sports reporters actually say that JP to JP that Chase is actually fighting it. So yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. And I know that Joe Burrow is getting closer. I think they've opened his practice window. Somebody can comment on that, but it makes you wonder, based on where that division is, if they feel they had a shot and they're going to stick Joe Burrow back out there. Of course, the Bills will meet them shortly at the Ralph, December 7th. And Norm, the Bills fan, is in the house. I've had your comment up about like 10 minutes. Sorry. Hey, Ralph, do you think Keon's done? No, I don't think he's done. I don't. Well, done in terms of what? I don't see McDermott changing what he did with the results that he got with Josh Allen and the receiver core, such as it was on Sunday. So I would almost expect to see, I don't know, if they activate him, who are they going to deactivate? And I mean, the only thing I could think is if that Mecole Hardman apparently hurt a calf, although some said he was just benched, but I believe he did hurt his calf during the game. If you made him inactive, you'd put Keon in. So that might be the path right there. Moving along here, Houston is a better defense than Tampa. I think they're number one. They are indeed, but they've won 5 games, and 2 of those games were versus the Titans. I said earlier in the program that I believe the Bills' offense might continue on the tear we just saw them on the other day, because there's not enough time for Joe Brady to fuck anything up before Thursday. They're going to go with what Josh likes, with who they had on the field, what felt good, what was working. They know what they're facing. It's a good pass rush. It might not be blitzing as much because they've got 2 good ends, but I think Dawkins and Brown can neutralize that. You do not have fire hydrant style defensive linemen like Vita Vea in the middle, that by stopping up that middle, that sort of shuts the whole zone down. It's like when you're doing the zone running scheme. So this is a team that would be more susceptible to inside zone. I mean, they got 1 good coverage linebacker and 1 good trigger linebacker. So their mic could come down pretty well. Their corners are great and their safeties are great, but I think Jalen Peter is out. Maybe that might have been last week that I saw, but I just think that this defense is ranked high, but you have to consider the competition against which they amass these statistics, and then ask yourself, okay, is that actually? I mean, who have they played essentially? Tyler Bass should be circulating his resume. Tell you what, I don't know how he is, and he might be fine to kick by now. And this just goes back to my point about Ty Shavers and Gabe Davis. It's the same thing with Matt Prater. Prate's in the win the other day was 6 for 6 on his kicks. And McDermott just is not walking away from that. Not doing it. And by the same token, I don't think he's walking away from what happened. You further reinforced your point, Sean, by having him out of the game and saw how much better the team actually did. That just reinforces Sean McDermott's point that, dude, you've got to become a professional, Keon. You need to understand what this is about. And it's not you. It's about the team. And who knows what's going on there. But it is stern enough that Sean McDermott makes public of it. And the last 2 times he's made public pronouncements about his dealings with a particular player were Stephon Diggs, and he was off the team the next season, and Marcel Darius, if you recall. When McDermott first got here, it might have been the second season, I believe, and Darius was like attitude, and he got his ass off the team. And I think we were just in the process of discovering who Matt Milano was back then. So I tell you what, McDermott, for whatever else he is, does not seem to put up with this sort of thing. And I would not expect to see this guy get rewarded with a jersey without knowing things in particular about what's going on there, especially based on what we just saw from the Bills offense the other day, with having the guys out there, okay, having it in 11 personnel if that's what it takes, and then letting Josh be the artist he is rather than pigeonholing him into making this particular throw or that particular throw. Get out there and create. You got the guys to create with. Go out and make music. And they could do it. They could do it. They'll mess teams up doing it, because at this point, what they are on film has been completely different. Stroud was ruled out today. So that's we've got Davis Mills. Davis Mills will probably be a great coach in the NFL one day. Listen for that name. Donald O'Neill, no issues here. Sounds good. Thank you. We've got it back here going, what's up, Bills Mafia? Jason Bush in the house. Let's fucking go, Bills. Talk that up. Thursday night, man. And don't think the law of attractions doesn't work. If anybody knows what the law of attractions are, it's it's said that we are all actually in the process of creating our own realities as we go. And the majority of us are creating realities that we can just tolerate, if you can believe that. But that's the law of attractions. It's the stuff you think, which your subconscious creates, can actually be manifest as reality. We're like thinking, oh, where did this show just go? No, but this is true. It's true. And the thing with Bills fans, and especially the drought-affected, fans, where they've got, the good old Debbie Downer syndrome, drought-enhanced Buffalo Bills insecurity effect. That's a Debbie Downer. And those thoughts count. And I'm telling you, it influences teams. That's why losing teams continue, because it's a lot of what fans think. But I'm telling you, it does make a difference, and for fans thinking about this. So, yeah, let's go Buffalo and be thinking that, because I think the Bills are going to go down to Houston and settle a score with the Texans. And they've got a score to settle with them. I mean, we know that. Who's our starting wide receivers for Thursday night? Well, that we don't know. I mean, we'd have to see if Keon Coleman, he was a healthy scratch because of off-field issues, not getting to a meeting. So does that continue? Does Sean McDermott ignore with a passing game that's been flagging for weeks, and then fairly explodes in a number of ways with its diversity, its effectiveness, and its beauty and artistry? I mean, is he going to say, okay, let's put that on the shelf and bring Keon back out? I'm not sure about that. I think it's a little bit bigger thing with McDermott and Coleman than we even know, because we're hearing it. So I might expect to see the very same people we had last week, unless Mecole Hardman is out and Buffalo then has him as a scratch and brings Coleman in. That would be the circumstance to me. Laugh my ass off at Brady not having enough time to fuck anything up. Yeah. Well, that was not scripted either. It just seems kind of obvious, man. Don't give these guys time to think about this stuff. I mean, I guess what this is inspiring me to say right now is that for a long time, we heard from McDermott, playoff caliber, championship caliber, the process, right? Stick with the process. It's all about the process. And I don't know, we hear him still say it during the week. Or, just this about our process of going through the week, or hearing him say again, like we heard years ago, earning the right to win. The team has already earned the right to win, Sean. They've won the division 5 years in a row, and they're like being this year, like, I don't know, over fucking thinking it or just maybe, like I said, it's a hive mind that is trying to test the boundaries like the Raptors testing the fences in Jurassic Park. Oh, this part shocks me. I don't want to do that. Just, systematically finding the answers. It might be that. I'm trying to, again, get back to the original question we were talking about here tonight. What the hell happened the other day? But whatever happened, I hope it keeps up, which is why we're going to do that. This is setting up the Bills 5, the Ravens 4, not liking it. 2 times magic ain't going to happen again. I'm not so sure about that either. I think there's more to say in this season. A lot of the teams are just past the halfway point, and there is a lot of serious football to be played. We'll see how this shakes out. If the Buffalo Bills have awakened into what they can possibly become, because listen, this is a better team than last year. You've got better dudes in a lot of spots. Some of them are inexperienced and are learning, but they're going to get there. They're going to get there, and they're going to get into this thing, and then freaking Ed Oliver is going to be back, and he'll be back somehow where he can play effectively. And so I think there's a lot of story left. Paul Chandler, we're already chasing the pass, and I think we play better at home than on the road. So if we can make the playoffs, they got to turn it up. How many of the division leaders you think we could beat? And it comes down to that. But I think the Bills, just need to worry at this point about winning every game. I'm not so worried about them going to play in Foxborough. I think that the Bills, there was just something that got awoken. I don't know what it is, but I think it's going to work out well on the road trips here. Because frankly, McDermott, for whatever has arisen and happened here, and I'm just hoping that he's recognized it at least and is like helping it manifest somehow. And again, not having enough time to screw up this great feeling that the team has, that I just think the Bills are going to play better on the road if he can grasp this, because he does have more control of the entire team. They're all in the hotel together. They're all going to meetings together. It's everybody's at their own homes and showing up at the stadium at 8:30 a.m. or whatever for a 1:00 game. This is different. Building the Buffaloes, the strategy of having our coaches having a short week, not to be able to fuck things up, is crazy work. Thank you very much. Love you, Ralph. See you Thursday. Warm up the runner phalluses. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Fume Drummer, I wonder if the problem with Coleman is really being late for meetings. Somehow I think there's more to the story. Yeah, and I think the thing that makes me actually think is that it's not so much about being late to the meeting. I think it's happened again, and it's like McDermott just can't even fucking process what this is for a player to be this. I don't know. I don't know what word it is. Obstinate, ignorant, just immature, maybe. These guys are still kids. Guys grow into their man's body and their man's mind. But I agree. I think there's something more to it. And you continue with, what does 11 personnel mean? Well, that's very simple. What we'll talk about, what we're talking about here are running backs and tight ends. So those two numbers, those two digits, indicate the number of running backs you have and the number of tight ends you have. So 11 personnel is one running back and one tight end. 12 would be one running back and two tight ends. 13, one running back and three tight ends. You can have 21 personnel, which would be two running backs and one tight end. Although you don't see the two back sets a lot. What you see a lot more of would be one of the receivers, the X, Y, or the Z, but setting up in the slot. Or you might have a situation with a second back playing like an H back. You don't necessarily see two backs, because I believe when Gilliam is like in the H back position, he's more like an extra tight end. But that's what it means. And then 12 personnel is with your two tight ends. And frankly, when they talk about running 13, if you did 13 personnel, you'd actually have one back, James Cook will say, three tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Jackson Haas. Now, from that situation, you're able to run, right? You've got a bigger blocking surface. You got more numbers. I mean, if you're trying to go at this with just five on a lot of these zone plays, they'll have the sixth with Gilliam coming in. But that's what the 13 can be effective, is if you can use that for play action and then have the middle of their defense of your opposing defense, your linebackers, staying closer, the safeties sneaking up, expecting like a zone running play, but instead you fake that, and then one of those tight ends like Haas or any one of the three just chips on a block and then jumps out and catches a pass. And I think this is what the Chiefs have been doing a long time with Travis Kelce Swift, just having step into his zone, but the Bills being able to pull it off with play action. And play action out of 13, if you've got the tight end thing really, really happening, or out of 12 even, if you're going to run it with two receivers, I mean just two tight ends, but it's like it's something they should be doing anyway. And that to answer it a long way. And then Billy the Buffalo had the quick answer right there, of course, without me having to go on about it. But 38-year Bills fan here, I hear you. Guys, I was around hearing Van Miller call the games on the Hi-Fi when it was Bobby Burnett as a running back and Albert Golden Wheels Dubenion. And the Van had just started doing this. Van Miller had never, called football games really before. And that was in the first 5 years of the Bills. They played their first season was 1960. And I knew a linebacker from that 1960 team. His name is Buzz Baczynski, and you can look it up. It's like B-U-C-Z from the 1960 team. His nickname, of course, was Buzz. What's his first name? But anyway, he was a linebacker with the Bills in that first season. And, I went on from there. You guys will remember Cookie Gilchrist. Looky, here comes Cookie. But I was born in 59, so I was born actually within days of formation of the team in the late summer of 1959. And the Bills then went till 1969, of course, in the AFL, and then the leagues merged. Actually, it was in 67 or 68 where the leagues merged. But yeah, man, I hear you in those years. I like that the Bills stretched the field with the passing game early last Sunday, enough with Cook to the left on every other down. Well, yeah, they were getting predictable. And again, I think if Brady just thinks he's great and what he's going to call is going to work, it's people catch up with it. I mean, hell, we're people, we're fans, and we can see it on film. So, indeed. Charles Stone, McD and B now have 100 wins in their positions for the Bills after Sunday's game. An accomplishment it is. And I think, part of this, the whole team, and they know that they're on the line to make something happen. You just can't keep staying at this position. It has to go one way or the other. Chuck Zepp is in the house. Hey, Ralph, love the rant. Go Bills. Appreciate it. Again, if you're new to the channel, take the nanosecond required to hit subscribe and become part of the Ralph Rant channel. No, we'll get rid of that commercial voice. Also, I'm talking myself out of a voice here tonight. Yelling too much early. I think he never showed up to the meeting, according to Billy the Buffalo. I believe you're correct on that. I think I heard that. And, what the hell is up with that? I mean, dude, you're living a dream. You're stepping on an NFL field. I played football when I was in high school. Both of my brothers played college football. I had one brother actually go to the New York Giants camp as an undrafted. And that's a whole different story. But I wish I felt then with the attitude I have now, but in that body in high school, because man, to go out in that field and just to go out and just hit people, how freaking cool! What the greatest game ever. Hey Ralph, great show. What's your thoughts on Ray Davis as an invisible as a running back, but doing great as a kickoff returner? I mean, what do you think, man? That was great the other day, Norm. Holy crap. Their return game, and especially the blocking surfaces they presented on some of those returns were good. And you notice they only kicked to McCole Hardman once. Every single one of those kicks went the other side. In fact, I'm surprised the Bills didn't do a run and switch after they directional kicked it. But I would have given McCole another shot to score, and I think he got kind of frustrated by not being kicked to, which is why that on that basically no return punt situation where he fumbled it, that he should have just fair caught it or just caught the ball and just hung on with both hands and got tackled, but he hadn't gotten the kicks, and he wanted to go out. He was probably going to do something on that because he had some space. Bless his heart. I think he's just going to be fine. I think he's going to be great. I give him a pass on that. But as far as Ray Davis, yeah, for the thing, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Ray Davis worked into the passing game a little bit more with the success the Bills found throwing the ball to the running backs. I don't have the stats in front of me, but they were very good. So, and Ray, I think, can be really effective at that. He's already shown himself to be very effective at that this season. 13 personnel where Brady gets cute and puts Kincaid in motion behind the quarterback in the hand. Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry it got so long to get to that. That is great. That is very great. Thank you, Fume Drummer. Enough of the cute. So what if the Pats sweep us? Say we beat the Pats and they still could win the division because of the split with the Finns going to Pittsburgh and probably the best shot at Indy. I'm not so sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite at the point of going through the games like that yet. I believe the Bills have a score to settle with the New England Patriots. And I believe that the Buffalo Bills possess a hive mind of sorts that has been driving them somehow, subconsciously, overtly, consciously, I don't know, in testing the limits of the team and putting it in different positions to try to maybe just determine failure modes like a piece of software might do. But I think the Buffalo Bills are getting it figured out. And dudes, they got a score to settle with the Patriots, believe me. I'm sure there's a feeling in that locker room, and you won't hear about it from them. But believe me, there's a feeling in the locker room about the Patriots, and I think the Bills are looking forward to getting there. Jeff's here. Bean wouldn't trade for wide receiver this year. Bean last 5 years draft for wide receiver, 2001. Marquez Stevenson, 6th round. Shakir, 5th round. Justin Shorter, Coleman. Yeah. Point made. And maybe because he hadn't selected them or wouldn't select them, they finally gave Josh's choice to get Coleman, who I think actually could be really good. But it needs to happen, and I think he needs to earn his way back into a jersey, unless, again, McCole Hardman is hurt and can't go, in which case you're going to have, Ray Davis and somebody back there catching kickoffs, and then put Shakir on punt return, because you got a couple of extra receivers in the form of Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers that are going to be active. But yeah, and I don't know, maybe I don't have an answer for that, because then he wouldn't do it also for Jalen Waddle, valuing the Bills' number 1 pick in the 2026 draft too much. The rookie quarterback for the Patriots is no slouch, but I'm more worried about Bo Nix in Denver in the playoff mix. Actually, Drake May is the second-year player. I am not so much of that mind. I see some flaws with what's going on, and I think the Bills are going to get something figured out on their pass rush. And I think Morgan Fox might be part of that, by the way. He's the other one the Bills have signed last week prior to the game. And again, as I said earlier, he might fit as a Michael Hoyt sort of stand-in. But, in terms of Bo Nix, what I'll say, just in the most general thing about them, and of course, their defense is good, and Nix has been pulling this off. Everybody's all over Denver because they beat Kansas City. I'm not really so sure how good Kansas City really is, actually. I mean, they had their winning streak, but they beat like the Commanders and the Titans. I mean, those wins of the Chiefs look worse than the Bills' early wins from earlier in the season to start the season, essentially. But just like the Chiefs seem to have the Bills' number in the playoffs, the Buffalo Bills have the Denver Broncos number in the playoffs. Rest assured on that. All right, we will beat the Pats. We're going 8-3 Thursday. Pats drop 1. We beat the Pats, take the division. I will say this, that the Patriots could well, and I believe will, lose a game that we do not expect them to lose. And that's how it will happen. Where's Taylor Salty, Norm the Bills fan asks. She is great with her commentary. She's your common influence. Yes, indeed. She actually is an acting and musical theater student down in Detroit and resides there rather than up here in the hinterlands where we are. So I can get her on sometimes, but she's pretty darn busy. Won't have her for the post-game Thursday night, which is probably the next time we'll go ahead and be on. Let's get done with it here. We've been on long enough. I've taken your ears long enough. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Again, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like the video, leave your comments. Make sure to get all your views because it is more of the, yeah, that's probably true. I had to get that in. But yeah, no calming influence tonight. I'm up on this situation. Go Bills. God bless you all. Thanks for being here. I am the Ralph. This is the Ralph Rant. Please subscribe. We'll see you no later than post-game Thursday night.